Here are my quick thoughts on UFC 309. I'm only going to be covering certain fights that I care about on the card, not every single one, because I haven't done enough research and UFC Fight Pass doesn't work the way I want it to. But before I get to UFC 309, I want to address the UFC Vegas 100 Prates versus Neil Magny, Carlos Prates. I think Carlos Prates is like a real dangerous threat. He hasn't been proven yet, meaning that we haven't seen him get wrestled by a dominant grappler. We don't know what he's going to be like if somebody can really keep him down and like attack submissions. I would think that he has decent jiu-jitsu, but I don't know. I know he has solid Muay Thai. That's what I know about him. But we haven't seen him really struggle in the grappling department. We haven't really seen him there, except for this fight. He didn't struggle. He was there for a moment and then he got up. Neil Magny couldn't keep him there for too long. It seemed like the game plan was to test his grappling. Unfortunately for Neil Magny, he couldn't keep him down for too long. So Prates is a real threat. Looking forward to any of his fights. He called out Jack Della Maddalena. That would be an awesome fight in Australia. I don't see it happening though. I think Jack just wants to fight up, which is fine because he's trying to become a champ. It's understandable. But I think Carlos Prates versus Jeff Neal makes the most sense in Australia. That would be awesome. Jeff Neal has great boxing and he's a southpaw, which most people aren't used to. And then Carlos Prates is just a killer, dude. Like, I love straight punches. I'm not a big fan of people who constantly throw overhands or wild hooks. They take too long to get to their target. Straight punches are so fast and hard to avoid. And it seems like Carlos Prates is just like, he shoots those hands out there like a rifle. Like he's so long with his reach and he just finds the target. I think he has like a 60 or 60+% accuracy with striking. I would never want to stand across from him. I mean, I would for money, but my point is he's dangerous. He's a dangerous fighter. Respect. And I'm looking forward to any time he fights for sure. All right. So the 309 and the fights I want to cover on 309. Not too many of the early prelims are that interesting. I do want Veronica Hardy to win because I watch and subscribe to Dan Hardy's YouTube channel. And so I'm always rooting for her whenever she fights. And, you know, when she wins, it's like Dan Hardy wins as a coach too. So it's like, you know, good for both of them. I like both of them. But yeah, the prelims. So starting with Marcus McGee versus Jonathan Martinez. I have such I admire Marcus McGee so much as a fighter. He is so aggressive. I love when fighters walk people down. I really do think that most of the fight is mental and then the rest is physical. Like, I would say 70% of it to me seems like it's mental. If you can beat your opponent mentally, it's over. They're not going to be able to hang with you. So in Marcus McGee's last fight, he was just chasing this guy down. I can't remember who he was. I think he fought on UFC Vegas 100. I can't remember his name. But anyway, the point is, Marcus McGee is a killer. He's aggressive. He's so intelligent. The way he picks his shots, it's like, his fight IQ is up there, and I love it. I love people who have high fight IQ. He has it, and I want him to fight more often. I really feel like he should be ranked or highly ranked by now. He's getting this Jonathan Martinez fight. I don't know if this is gonna put him into the rankings. I think Jonathan Martinez is ranked. I think he should be like 15, 14, 13 maybe. Dude, Marcus McGee, if he was more active, like the bantamweight division is already exciting. But then you add him in the mix, like people would be avoiding him for sure. I expect him to win for sure. No doubt in my mind. Jonathan Martinez he's okay, but I don't like the tippy-tappy leg kicks and running away. He reminds me of Chris Gutierrez in that way, and I'm not a fan of that style of fighting. Like, at least I think I'll give more respect to Jonathan Martinez because he will sit in the pocket for a moment and exchange with you, but he won't do that forever. That's not his game plan. His game plan is to break your legs down with his really powerful kicks. And I'm all for people leaning into their strengths, but you know, it's a business, you know, it's a company that's trying to generate entertainment. So what's the most entertaining kind of fight style? Not necessarily, you know, kicking at range and running away every time somebody gets close, just sidestepping and moving around the cage. It's not the best to watch, but he's gotten into the, you know, to the rankings because he's successful. Aldo did well against him. So yeah, Marcus McGee should win. I think the way Marcus McGee wins is he figures out Jonathan's timing with his leg kicks, and he checks them, and then right either when he throws a leg kick or like right after, he just punishes him. He moves inside. Marcus McGee, I kind of want to compare him to like Diego Lopez and how dangerous he is up close. But yeah, I think Marcus McGee moves in and punishes him for the leg kicks. And Marcus is really good at cutting people off, which is another thing I love about him and other fighters, is having pressure and being aggressive, but also knowing how to cut people off so they can't run. Martinez is not going to be able to escape. But, you know, anything can happen. It's a fight. You know, I truly believe that there's no such thing as like a gift. Like, it's a fight. Anybody can win. Nobody's getting a gift of an opponent. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying that's what's happening here, because Jonathan Martinez is definitely a good fighter. But what I am saying is it could go either way, but it's seeming like a 70-30 kind of thing, leaning towards Marcus McGee. I think he takes it. Mauricio Rufy versus James Lontop. I hope I'm not saying his name incorrect. I haven't seen much of Mauricio Rufy, but what I have seen, he's very technical and he has a really good fight IQ. From what I've seen of Lontop, I'm gonna stop saying his name. I'm gonna call him James. From what I've seen of him, he's just a kind of a tough guy. He can, you know, really get into a back and forth swinging contest. But I think Mauricio Rufy, he definitely has a bag of tricks that he's gonna, like, you know, reach into and do something surprising. That takedown he had with his legs, I think it was called a scissor, something like that, a scissor takedown or something, scissor trip maybe. That was cool, and I haven't seen anything like that before. Very unique. Somebody who's willing to do things you haven't seen is dangerous, for sure. And being unpredictable and having a high fight IQ, he's a problem. And he's a part of the Fighting Nerds. So those guys are different. Everybody in that team is just, they're smart and they're powerful. So I think Mauricio Rufy takes that one. Next, Bo Nickal versus Paul Craig. I love grappling. I love grappling when it's effective. What I mean is, I don't like when fighters are holding and stalling to get around. That's not what I like. I like a grappler who chases a finish. I like a grappler who they get you down and they're advancing their position and they're going for damage. And when they hit you with elbows and fists, and you try and cover up or you try to turn and twist out of the way, that opens up submissions and they attack a submission. I love that. I love grapplers who get finishes. And so Bo Nickal seems like he's a grappler I would like. He's being coddled though. I know I said earlier in the video that there's no such thing as a gift, but he's kind of been given gifts. Kind of. Like on UFC 300, he had like one of the craziest betting lines ever. And I'm not a gambler and I've never placed a bet. But I know what that means when you put somebody at like minus 1,000 or 3,000, something crazy like that. And Brundage went out there and kind of like said, hey man, he's not who you think, a little bit. Like there were some takedowns that he denied that were like, oh, I thought Brundage was gonna take that. I thought prior to UFC 300, I thought that Bo Nickal versus Khamzat Chimaev was gonna be a good fight, like a real contest of American wrestling versus this Chechen Eastern kind of wrestling. Nah, I think Khamzat dominates him. But you know, we'd have to wait and see. You know, I think Bo Nickal is still improving. I think he comes from a dominant wrestling background, of course, from NCAA wrestling. But this is MMA. This is, you know, striking mixed in. That's what's beautiful about MMA, is that you can take somebody who is a master of an individual craft and you put them in a mixed martial arts fight and it's not going the way they thought. They thought they were going to run through somebody. You put a boxer in an MMA fight, they get taken down, beaten, submitted, they get their legs kicked, you know. So I do think Bo Nickal is improving with every fight, with every day. I'm sure he's training with discipline. He said he wants to fight a lot before he gets close to a title fight. Cool. Great. No problem against that. But I think they're going to shoot him up the rankings like they did Sean O'Malley. I just want him to be more active. If you're going to be saying you want 9 fights before you get a title shot, you got to be active, dude. You don't want to be getting a title shot in your, late 30s? I don't know. Just fight more. Just fight more, Bo Nickal. Paul Craig, he's dangerous. He's never to be underrated. Like when he can get people caught up in these triangles. And I do see a potential outcome of Bo Nickal taking down Paul Craig and Paul Craig just resisting Bo Nickal's attempts at either damage or submission attempts. And then somehow, some way, either, you know, Bo Nickal's like stepping back or trying to step up to like land some ground strikes on Paul Craig on the ground, and he just gets his leg up there and like puts him in a triangle somehow, like in an awkward exchange. We don't know what Bo Nickal's submission defense is like. This is definitely a test for sure. It's not the hardest fight at the level that Bo Nickal is at right now, but it's definitely a test. I am putting some respect on Paul Craig. He can definitely win this fight because he's tricky. He'll find a moment. But who did Paul Craig fight last? I can't remember. But I think he got knocked out. Was it it wasn't Johnny Walker last time, I don't think. Was it? No. Anyway, it doesn't matter. The point is, I think I'm gonna give it to Bo Nickel on a prediction because I don't ever want to be disrespectful to fighters because these guys are solid and I have the utmost respect for anybody who steps in there, but unfortunately I think Paul Craig's chin is going, unfortunately. And Bo Nickel, you know, he could mix up his wrestling, like his fake a takedown attempt for an overhand and just chin him. And I could see that happening maybe in like a round 2. I don't think it's gonna end in the first round. I'd be surprised if Bo Nickel goes out there and like finishes Paul Craig in the first round. That'd be an improvement from his fight against Cody Brundage on 300. That would be crazy. That would be like saying, okay, he really meant what he said as far as like in the post-fight interview for UFC 300, he was saying how he wasn't happy with his performance and he was really apologizing, and people were like, dude, you gotta finish. Like, chill out. What are you talking about? You're not happy with the finish? His point was people expected him to dominate in the first round. He didn't do that. He didn't live up to all the hype that had been on him for a long time. And he wants to like let people know like, hey, I'm better than that. So if he comes out here and finishes Paul Craig in the first round, he'd be proving that. If he finishes him in the second round, there's no problem because Paul Craig is a step up in competition from Cody Brundage. If he finishes him in the third, I still don't feel like there's a problem because you're stepping up in competition. If he takes him to a decision, if he takes Paul Craig to a decision, especially if it's split, people are going to be off the hype train. Even if he wins a decision, people are going to get off the hype train a good amount. And if he loses, then we already know people are going to be saying things like fraud checked and all this. I hate that term, fraud checked. It's the UFC. You have professional fighters. What do you mean fraud checked? You're fighting other professionals. Anything can happen. Anything can happen on the street. So to say someone gets fraud checked is just disrespectful. And it doesn't make sense given the context of the sport. You know, these are killers. These guys are dangerous. Like, how could you say you're a fraud because you lost? Next fight. Charles Oliveira versus Michael Chandler. I love Charles. I love Charles Oliveira. I got into the UFC right when he became a champion. I had already been watching highlights for the UFC since I was a little kid. Like, when I was a kid, like growing up as a preteen and teenager, I would probably say my favorite fighter was like Rampage Jackson. But I never got into it. I never watched the sport diligently until, like 2020. And Charles is like, he was like this is my favorite fighter, dude. Like, he's crazy. His Muay Thai striking is amazing. He's sharp. His grappling is on point. He has like the most finishes. He's lethal. And he got his belt. It was a vacant title because Khabib had left. He got that belt fighting Michael Chandler. And Michael had him hurt. He had him in a bad spot in the first round. And everybody's like, wow, Michael Chandler has this dude. He's just about to get this W. Here comes the second round. Dude, it was like Oliveira was in his corner in between rounds like, they don't know me. They don't know me, son. They're about to find out. He comes out in the second round and just catches Michael Chandler's chin. And then the left hands following up over and over as Chandler is trying to stand up, but he's clearly like dazed. That was awesome. How do I think this fight's gonna go? That depends on a couple things. One, I don't know if this is 5 rounds or not. I wanted the Charles Oliveira Arman Sarukian fight to be 5 rounds. We saw how that ended up. Oliveira almost had Arman in a couple moments. Arman did some good ground and pound, but I feel like Charles would have won that if it was 5 rounds. You give Charles more time with somebody like Arman, I think Charles might get that finish somehow, or a decision, But Charles isn't the decision type. He's a kill or be killed. He's a finish or be finished kind of guy, which I have a lot of respect for. He just goes out there and fights. Like, this guy hates judges, bro. He hates judges. Michael Chandler, and this is the other part that the end of the fight is contingent on. Michael Chandler has been waiting for Conor McGregor, dude, for like, was it almost 2 years now? And you're like, I don't know if he's still in his prime or if he's coming out of his prime. You cannot be sitting out. And I get it. It's a what do they call it? Like red panty night or something like that. Like, it's a big money fight, and he was thinking, oh, it's going to be worth it because if I fought this many times in the same amount of time that I took off waiting, I still wouldn't make the amount of money that I would against Conor McGregor. Dude, horrible decision. Be active. Be active. Think about your legacy. When we're looking back at Michael Chandler's career in the UFC, are we going to be like, you know what? That was probably a good decision that he waited for McGregor. No, it wasn't, dude. You should have been fighting. You could have had a fight with Arman. Wait a minute. Okay, I thought for a second that Michael Chandler was on a losing skid, but he's not, because he beat Tony Ferguson. Is that his last win, Tony Ferguson, which didn't age well considering Tony's last, 5, 6 fights? I don't know how many fights he's lost in a row. So we don't know how Chandler's going to come back. We don't know if he's going to be as potent as he was when he fought Oliveira the first time. If he's just as strong, just as fast, then Oliveira might be in a little danger. Chandler is known for not making the best decisions when it comes to fight IQ. Like, he just would rather throw punches instead of wrestle. And I'm pretty sure he's a wrestler. I haven't watched all his fights from when he was in Bellator, but I'm pretty sure he's a wrestler. And I think he's trying to come into the UFC and say, hey, everybody, I'm not a wrestler. I'm not a grappler. I'm not boring. I'm not going to sit here and stall. I know you guys hate stalling. I would never do that. I'm all about action. I'm all about entertainment. Listen to my post-fight speech about how awesome I am, and I'll meet you at the top. I'll see you at the top. Cool, dude. Just win your fights, bro. Like, I love the knockout on Tony Ferguson. I love that. I'm a big fan of a good front kick, and that was beautiful. But I'm a Charles Oliveira fan. And so who do I think is going to win? I think Charles is going to win. I think if Charles really still has a hunger for the belt, he can get it. I know that Michael Chandler definitely has a hunger for the belt. He has a hunger for winning, period. And so I would never count out Michael Chandler. I do believe him when he's like saying, I believe he believes what he says, if that makes sense. Everything that he says, I believe that he means it to himself. That doesn't necessarily mean it's going to happen. Moving on. Oh, no, not moving on. How do I see this fight playing out? I see Charles. It can go one of a few ways. Charles is dangerous and crazy in first rounds. Like in the first round of a fight, this fight could go just like his title defense against Gaethje, which is probably one of my favorite fights ever, or my favorite round ever in any combat sport. The back and forth between Charles and Gaethje was incredible, and the way it finished with Charles just popping him with his power. I think Charles's power gets slept on. I think Charles's power gets slept on, and Everybody's worried about Charles on the ground. Dude, you can get knocked out. Well, Michael got knocked out. What am I talking about? Michael knows. So I think Chandler's going to be a little weary of the hands of Charles, but yeah, I'm expecting a crazy first round because Chandler wants to come back and say, "Hey, you guys are going to like me. I'm going to remind y'all why you like me. I'm going to put on a crazy fight. I'm going to remind you guys that every fight I'm in is going to be entertaining, and this is why they pay me." This first round is probably going to be insane. I hope it's 5 rounds, though. Anyway, if it goes beyond the first round, maybe a second or third round submission by Charles, or Chandler knocks him out. I don't want him to do that. I like Charles. I'm a big Charles fan. I don't want that to happen. But we'll see what happens. It is what it is. No matter what the outcome it is what it is. Main event of UFC 309. Jon Jones versus Stipe Miocic. Miocic? The battle of the two heavyweights who are avoiding Tom Aspinall. I just want to address something first. When Yuri Prochazka got injured as a champion, what did he do? He gave up the belt, right? So there could be a fight for the vacant belt. And it was Jamal Hill versus Glover Teixeira, right? And then Jamal won in Brazil and just battered Glover Teixeira, which people don't give enough respect to Jamal Hill for, because that was an amazing fight. Just crazy domination. Well, it was kind of back and forth, because I do remember Jamal having that cut on his eye, and it was a little back and forth, but Jamal had some really good cardio to just keep the pressure going. What happened when Jamal got injured? He gave up the belt, right? And then it was Jan Blachowicz versus Magomed Ankalaev, and they had a draw over that. And then I think it was Alex Pereira versus Yuri for the vacant belt, I think. I think that's what happened. All that to say, why is it that when Jon Jones gets injured, he holds on to the belt? Why didn't he get stripped? Why didn't Jon Jones get stripped of his title? Why did he sit on the belt for like 500 plus days, almost 550 days? Why didn't he lose his belt? Why didn't he give up the belt? I have a theory. It's not really a theory. It's just some people have this idea that since Francis left, I don't know if this is really what's going on. It's just what people think, and I kind of buy into it a pinch. I'm not gonna lie. Since Francis left, the UFC wants to say they have the best heavyweight, right? They want to say that Jon Jones is the greatest of all time. Dana says that ad nauseum, endlessly. And so they can't strip Jon in that time that he's injured, because if they do that, they can't say that it's Jon Jones anymore. They have to keep him with the belt and give him fights that are favorable. So that Gane fight, Jon Jones versus Cyril Gane, oh my God. I can't believe I thought Gane would be a good matchup. I was thinking, oh, well, you know, Jon Jones, he's a grappler. But I don't know how that's going to translate to heavyweight. Maybe Cyril is just going to outmuscle him, because it looked like Jon just ate. He looked like he just ate to get up to heavyweight rather than add muscle. And then I'm thinking Cyril looks like just a big dude with a bunch of muscle. He might be able to deny a takedown or a few. I don't know. I didn't know. I didn't know that Ciryl Gane had no ground game at all. None. What was that fight, bro? I am still mad to this day about how that fight went. That I was like, what do you mean? What do you mean you tap? Why did he go why did he get taken down so easily? I can't remember how John got to his back immediately. But he dragged him down using his body weight, and I'm like, oh no. Oh no. Don't tell me Ciryl is like out of his depth. Because Ciryl was getting out wrestled by Francis Ngannou with one knee, with one good knee. And so I'm thinking to myself, oh no, you just jumped in the deep end with a better grappler than Francis Ngannou. And you did no work on your ground game? I'm sure he did. I don't want to be disrespectful. I'm sure he worked on his ground game a pinch. That was bad, dude. That was bad. And then we got Jon Jones as the heavyweight champion. And so forever, people are going to always argue that he's the greatest of all time. And that, Francis would get submitted. Jon Jones, I can't believe there are Jon Jones fans. First of all, I can't believe there are Jon Jones fans. I can't believe there are Jon Jones fans that think that Jon would knock out Francis Ngannou. You think he's going to knock him out? I think if Jon Jones beats Francis, it's through a submission, not a knockout. I don't get it. Anyway, so Jon doesn't give up his belt because whatever reason. He sits on it, holds up the division, holds up Tom Aspinall. Tom Aspinall has to fight for an interim championship against Sergey Pavlovich, knocks him out, puts him out. Then he defends the interim title. What are we doing here, bro? I've never heard of that. He defends the interim title. He defends it against Curtis Blades, knocks him out. What was that? Was that the first? That was the first round, I think. Tom Aspinall would do Jon Jones so dirty. He would do him dirty. I'm telling you he would. I know he would. He would put Jon Jones out so bad. I'm not talking about a TKO where Mark Goddard steps in because somebody got punched in the face. It's over. It's over. No, I'm not talking about an early stoppage. I'm talking about a Mario Yamasaki stoppage where Jon Jones is stiff, he's asleep, he's out. I'm talking about devastating punishment. I want to see Tom Aspinall fight Jon Jones. And I know it wouldn't get outside the first round. I know it wouldn't. There's no way. So what I see happening is with this Stipe fight, why are you fighting Stipe? Why is Jon Jones fighting Stipe Miocic? Why is that even happening? Stipe's last fight was against Francis like 3 years ago. And he got knocked out bad. Knocked out the same way I think Jon Jones will get knocked out by Tom Aspinall bad. So you're telling me that Stipe gets a title shot? Not the interim champ? What are we doing, bro? What are we doing here? That doesn't make any sense. I'm disgusted. I am disgusted. I don't like this. And I really don't like all the the UFC company men, whether it's DC or anybody else who's commentating, talking about how this is a legacy fight. This is a big deal. This is the greatest heavyweight of all time versus the greatest fighter of all. Bro, stop it. We saw Stipe walk in to that I don't remember the event number, but when Jon Jones fought Ciryl Gane, Stipe Miocic walked in like to go sit down in his seat, and he was why can't I talk right now? He was struggling to walk. is what I'm trying to say. It looked like he had a limp. That's what I was looking for, that word, limp. It looked like he was limping. I can't remember if he had a cane or not. Let this man retire in peace. I think he's trying to fight for a check. And what I'm hoping is that, I'm hoping it's not going to be another fight like Cyril Gane. Sit down. I'm hoping it's not going to be another fight like Cyril Gane, where it feels like a setup. That fight with Cyril was so bad, I still can't tell if it was real. Did Cyril take a dive, or is he just that bad? You know what I mean? All due respect, I don't mean to disrespect, but that performance was so bad that I can't tell if it was real or not. And I know there's gonna be people saying, no, you just can't accept how good Jon Jones is. I'm not gonna glaze him, bro. I won't. I refuse to give him all that hype. I'm not gonna get into why I can't stand the guy. I think we all know, or at least most of us know, why Jon Jones isn't necessarily a likable guy, even though he wants to be. I'm all for giving people second chances. This dude is on his like 11th or whatever. Like, cut it out. You know what I mean? Anyway, how do I see this fight going? I see it going. I see Stipe being able to deny some takedowns. I see it going way better than the Cyril fight. I'm hoping. I would think that when it comes to the grappling aspect of the fight, I would hope that Stipe can withstand that. I don't think that I don't think it's going to be so easy. I don't think it's going to be done in the first round. Honestly, I think that Stipe can make it out of the first round. I saw Stipe hitting pads, like a video of him hitting pads with his trainer or his coach. Oh, it looks so bad. It looks so bad. I'm not even a fighter. I'm not training now, but I swear I could be faster on pads. I swear I could be faster. And I don't like being disrespectful or sounding disrespectful, because credit to people who become champions, credit to anybody who gets in the octagon, who fights. But man, what are we doing here? This is bad. This seems like an easy title defense. And I don't want it to be. So it's hard to make a prediction, because logically I'm thinking Jon Jones is going to knock this dude out or submit him. Could he knock him out? Maybe. But I'm leaning toward it's more likely that Jon Jones submits Stipe than knocks him out. How do I see this happening? Either Jon Jones does his classic 12-6 on the ground and just beats Stipe's face in, or he catches him in a slick little submission. I've seen videos of Jon Jones with Gordon Ryan. Yeah, he's high level. He's high level on the ground. And I would never underestimate Jon Jones on the ground. But I still feel like Tom Aspinall can submit him. I feel like Tom Aspinall can submit him because Tom is stronger. What I know about jiu-jitsu, what I know about jiu-jitsu is that sometimes these guys don't necessarily even use technique. They just muscle through it, and you'll just be like in a position where you're like, damn, how did I get here? Some guys use strength over technique, and I really do believe in a fight between Jon Jones and Tom Aspinall that Aspinall could just out-muscle him into a submission, where it's like technique doesn't matter, bro. You're not as slick as you think you are, not against him. I don't see Stipe winning, but I want him to. So my official prediction, for this fight, Stipe knocks him out. Stipe knocks him out. Stipe, here's my wildest outcome for the fight. Jon Jones shoots a double leg. or no, a single leg. It doesn't matter. He shoots a takedown. Stipe's back is on the fence. He's trying to like keep his legs wide, you know what I mean? Like trying to stay upright. And then his corner is like, elbows, elbows. And he just brings it down on the temple of Jon Jones. And he just goes out. Just like Almeida did against Curtis Blades. That would be spectacular. That would be amazing. That would be a dream come true. It would be like a I don't really celebrate like that, but an early Christmas gift. Dude, if Stipe wins, I am going to explode with joy. I'm going to be so happy if Stipe manages to finish Jon Jones or get a decision. I could see this going 5 rounds. As boring as that sounds. I see them both being exhausted in the third, maybe. And it's just being slow tip-tap shots. Jon Jones shoots a takedown, but he's exhausted. You know what? Jon Jones, I think he cut like 10 or 15, maybe even 20, no, not 20 pounds. He cut some weight from his last performance against Gane. So he should be faster and have better cardio. Anyway, my official prediction, Stipe wins. Elbows, TKO. But realistically, I think we all know that Jon Jones is going to finish him. So those are my thoughts. Those are my thoughts on the main event of UFC Vegas 100 and then 309. All right, I'll be posting more. Like, subscribe. Please comment because I love to hear what anybody has to say and I'll respond. I'll be there. All right. I'm out. I'll be posting in the future. Later.